We're working hard to understand the killer and his motives and his sources of inspiration. But we are highly confident that this killer was radicalized, and at least in some part through the internet.
FBI Director James Comey saying the Orlando terrorist was radicalized partly over the internet. My next guest says the U.S. cybersecurity plan in this current administration needs improvement. MIT Tech Review editor Jason Taunton is with me now. Jason, great to see you. Is this technology, these cyber systems, the new nuclear weapons?
Well, I wouldn't put it quite that way, but these lone wolves are essentially radicalized over the internet. The Bacalan bombers were radicalized over the internet. The San Bernardino shooters were radicalized over the internet. And the Orlando shooter was radicalized over the internet. ISIL has an extraordinary sophisticated approach. The head of Western operations is a former German rapper called Deso Dog. They reach out to people, and people reach out to them, and they have made being a radical brother the coolest and sexiest thing you can be in jihadist circles. And in response, we have very little. We have thrown a little bit of marketing at the effort. We don't really know how to talk back effectively to people who are being radicalized online.
So, Jason, from a point of view of technology, one of your areas of expertise, what can we do?
We can do a few things. So the NSA runs a portion of our cyber command. Using that, they have been very effective at implementing and amplifying warfield commanders. Part of the great success of the surge in Iraq, which General McChrystal led, was using cyber operations to take down command and control in the field. So we know how to do that because that's essentially a military operation. You use the analogy of nuclear war. Well, it's not quite that, but using conventional military operations, we can take out the cyber operations of ISIL. What we don't know how to do is interrupt those more personal, intimate, whispered conversations between a young man going online in Florida and finding something that appeals to him.
Because, Jason, ISIS and the terrorist group, to your point, do seem savvy. That is to say, I remember being in Paris and covering the attacks there, and they had used burner phones, knowing that they could eventually be traced. So there's a level of sophistication that is going to make it harder for us, as you say, to intervene on one-on-one conversations. Should Silicon Valley be playing a role?
ISIL or ISIS, if you prefer, are really good at this, and that's because they are young people, young men and women who grew up using these tools. They're good at it because it's how they communicate by themselves. It's a very different operation compared to the 90s Al-Qaeda way of thinking about jihadist operations. Al-Qaeda was a more or less conventional distributed terrorist network. This is different. ISIL doesn't care if they never communicate directly with a lone wolf. They want the person to make a profession of allegiance to ISIS, and then they will take credit for the operation. And they'll teach them how to perform the operations with materials produced on Dabiq, which is their online newspaper.
Right. The danger is clearly in the decentralization. We will talk about this again, I'm sure. In the meantime, Jason, thank you very much. Jason Taunton, editor of the MIT Tech Review.